Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. The first story: I refuse to lie to my colleagues at the request of my manager. The second story: landlord lost several $1,000s of income because she did not rent out her apartment. The third story: the elevator in the science wing is broken. You need to go through the administration wing. Okay. And the first story is, I'm not going to lie to my beloved coworkers for you, manager. Do you want to know how I got these numbers? Info: we worked with a program that was connected to our CRM that was guiding us step by step on what to ask customer and what troubleshooting steps to take. It is a really smart and good program, but it's just that, program. There were few cases where it could not help at all or provided a wrong solution, and plenty more cases where experienced agent could identify and fix the issue much faster, and sometimes even without taking some steps that would severely affect the customer. The issue was that the company did not see it that way, and we were required to follow the flow exactly. Every agent had to work outside of it from time to time. Managers still did not like it, but I was part of a group of friends that very much enjoyed the technical side of the job and was notorious for having low compliance to this rule. But we had very good results to show for it, so they mostly let us be. Now to the story. I just came to my shifts and was getting my computer ready when my manager came to me. Hey OP, the final results came in and you're number 1 in the team. On today's huddle, I'm gonna call you to the front. Even though I said in a survey that was done no longer than a few months prior that I like to be recognized for my numbers in private, not in a group setting, and ask you how do you manage to get these good numbers, and I want you to help out the team and tell them it's because you follow the flow. But that's not true. You know that. I can't say that. Sure you can. They'll listen to you and it'll help our compliance. I'm not gonna lie to them. Please don't call me to the front. This is where our conversation ended, and we headed to the couch area to have a 15-minute morning huddle, and 5 minutes into it I'm being called to the front with some awkward forced clapping. Now he's indeed asking me how did I reach such good numbers, with his slimy eyes looking at me and his bald head nodding like he was assuring me, you can become this sleazy office rat like I did. Well, I was super mad at this point, as he was forcing me in a really uncomfortable situation, and thought in my head, do you want to know how I got these numbers? Sure. Well, it would definitely had to be the fact that I learned to cooperate with our awesome program and use it as my guide during the calls, while keeping in mind it's just a program and keeping an eye open for a better solution for the customer when the program can provide. This way I was able to significantly reduce my technician dispatch rate and my average handling time since I can often find solutions sooner. I wanted to keep talking, but after this sentence, he kinda roughly interrupted me and thanked me while trying to somehow turn what I said in his favor, but I cannot honestly remember the rest of what was told. I loathe public speaking and am a shy person, and just this sentence in front of around 15 people made me sweat as hell. I just remember few guys holding back laughter. The manager came to me right after the huddle and was disappointed that I betrayed his trust, and what do I have to say for the reasons I did it? And I just replied with, I warned you beforehand, and quickly took an incoming call just so he could not talk to me. I later received a few messages from him how he's disappointed, and how he thought I wanted to also be a manager one day. But at that stage in the company, I knew it's not going to be my long-term career, so whatever. Having someone who knows when to drop the rules is always a good idea. I know a lot of people who don't understand technology, and they need an idiot's guide to solving problems. Just because something is written doesn't mean you have to do it that way. The manager wanted to play these dirty games. I used to work in a call center the same way. I hated being forced to follow clumsy and grammatically incorrect scripts in the call center. It was just so stupid. Sometimes I'll play this game because I'm trying to keep that paycheck, but sometimes I'm one step away from the door, and I'm happy to proudly refuse to participate in things that go against my principles. The manager cheated your trust by getting you to talk when you explicitly stated you were opting out. Well done, OP. Keep it up. Don't let yourself be silenced anymore. The second story is small-scale malicious compliance involving my landlord. So, context. Me and my fiance live in the USA and had an opportunity in another state that required us to move pretty quick. Our lease required 60 days of notice before we move out, plus a buyout fee. But because of the situation, we weren't able to give 60 days of notice. We're also already not really happy with our landlord because she called us 6 days before we moved into this unit, about 10 months before all this went down, and told us she would have to delay our move-in by a week and move us to a completely different unit because the people in our unit decided last minute not to move out, despite being required to by the same lease we signed. Not that I want to kick these people out on their butts with no place to stay, but our landlord didn't really apologize to us. Instead, just emphasized how much of a tough situation these tenants put her in by remaining in our unit. In an emergency, we had to stay with my fiance's family for that week before moving in. On top of that, she really hasn't been the best while we've lived here. The only way the office will accept any kind of correspondence from residents is through their online portal. We're not allowed to email them directly, only call, and even then we can't place maintenance requests over the phone. And the online portal has been down a total of almost 90 days that we've lived there. Not 90 days in a row, but there was a 2-month period where it was down completely, and it was down sporadically throughout the rest of our stay. No alternative for the portal was ever provided. So here's the story. I send our landlord an email letting her know that we needed to move out soon. I think the date was 45 days from when I sent the email. In the email, I included that we understood our financial obligation and that we intended to continue paying rent through the end of our lease, since we aren't really giving her 60 days notice before the move out. I wanted to give her the courtesy of being able to rent out the unit, or at least begin to look for other renters, and have them move in sooner, so the unit remains unoccupied and they can rent it out sooner. Our landlord shoots back insisting that we must give 60 days notice before moving out, and that we must pay the buyout fee to leave early. The buyout fee was about 3 months of rent, and we had 3 months left on the lease, so we would have to pay the 60 days of rent, and then the buyout fee on top of that. She stressed that we needed to read the lease before bothering her, because all of this information was already in there. On top of that, she included several pages of the lease, including the page with the clause about needing to move out if another tenant has signed a lease to your unit. Cue malicious compliance. Maybe it was her including that clause that upset me, but I had enough at that point. I emailed her back and simply said, upon further review of our lease, we've decided to stay until the end of our lease on date. As that date is more than 60 days away, I hope it's alright if you consider this our notice that we're moving out, and do not plan on renewing our lease. Thank you. A couple weeks later, my fiance and I packed our bags and moved out, leaving the unit empty. My aunt and uncle live nearby, so we gave them the keys. They want to check on the unit and run the lights and the water about once a week to make sure everything was still working. Our landlord emailed us a couple times near the end of our lease, asking if we would be out of the unit so they could bring their new tenants in to tour the unit. Unfortunately for her, we were always busy, and the apartment was never clean, so she couldn't give them a tour of our unit. When our lease was up, I took a trip back to town to drop off the keys and do our final checkout. Overall, we saved several $1,000s that we would have had to pay in rent, and we cost her several $1,000s in revenue from not renting out her empty unit for 2 months. She was none the wiser. Well, I like this little story of yours. Well played, OP. I rented an apartment with my girlfriend. We met the landlord and everything was fine at first. We signed a contract and moved in. As it turned out later, I had missed one clause that stated that if you weren't in your apartment for 10 days in a row, it would be considered abandoned and would be arrested. This landlord was renting more than one apartment, 3 apartments, and later I actually saw someone get a notice on their door, warning them of the action to be taken about it. It was so weird. I think that if it was affecting us as well, it would be grounds for a major lawsuit that the landlord would wet himself trying and failing to win. My girlfriend and I love to travel, and it seems this landlord hasn't heard of travel. Luckily, we didn't stay there long and found a much better apartment. This was an SH landlord, and I advise you not to mess with people like that. The last story is, don't want to fix the elevator? Meet the stinky car. While I was earning my bachelor's in chemistry, I worked for the university's hazmat department. My job involved inspecting labs, disposing of old chemicals, occasionally giving people the "you have to be SHing me" stare, and plenty of other fun activities, so our esteemed researchers can figure out science in a safe environment. Quick description of the campus. One building was a more recent construction. It has 2 wings and was shaped like the vaguely S-shaped Tetris block no one loves. The east wing was full of laboratories, 3 full stories and basement of labs. Cancer research, Alzheimer's research, deadly banana fungus research. The place housed a most prestigious staff of brilliant minds trying to solve the world's problems. The west wing housed the administrative offices of the university. Accountants, bookkeepers, and assorted bean counters. HR and desk jockeys, all the way up to the dean. People who, unlike their eastern counterparts, seem to be the cause of many baffling questions like, why are our emergency expenditures still not approved? Why is there a problem with my payslip again? And why is there so much red tape? That building was connected to the rest of the campus via underground tunnels, accessed via the basement, and had 1 elevator per wing. Now the thing is that the loading dock is in another building, so when the labs receive their orders of chemical, they grab their cart and scoot down the tunnel to the arrivals, load up their cart and carry it back to the lab to be safely stored, on penalty of getting the "are you kidding me" stare or a long lecture by my boss. Important point, the rules prohibit using the stairs with hazmat, elevator only. It's safer this way. So one day the science wing's elevator breaks down. I send a request to have it fixed. At least 4 lab employees also send it. We receive the response that we all should use the administrative elevator. I reply that since one of the labs is on a sort of half floor, the only way to reach it is the science wing elevator, or a flight of stairs. Highlighted the risk of falling while carrying heavy boxes of chemical in the stairs, or how there was no way to safely carry very heavy gas cylinders up those stairs. They were having none of that. Use the administrative wing elevator. They will call to have the elevator fixed, but it is considered low priority. I showed the reply to my boss. He was the type of guy for who workplace safety is no laughing matter, and I was expecting him to reply with a strongly worded email and about 4 to 5 paragraphs from various workplace safety laws text. Instead, he had a strange smile. Oh, don't worry, Rum, it'll soon be a priority to them. 2 days later, my boss comes in. Rum, don't forget the biohazard truck comes tomorrow. You should collect the waste from the labs. Oh boy, biohazard day. The day where I get to leave my office, visit every lab in the university, jokingly say bring out your dead as I enter, and having a chat with teachers, classmates, and various lab aides. I put on my lab coat and protective goggles. And don't forget the elevator in the science wing is broken. You have to go through the administrative wing. Oh, now I get it. See, when the pencil pushers decided that fixing the elevator wasn't a priority, they didn't realize that I would be walking around with a cart filled with containers bearing a bright yellow biohazard logo, and returning with them full of old petri dishes full of culture medium. And any biochemists or microbiologists worth their lab coat will tell you, culture medium stinks. So here I am walking in front of all those nice offices and meeting rooms. The clack, clack, clack of my cart full of biohazard announcing my arrival, and the smell of death following me. Yes, I made sure that all the bags were properly sealed, but it's one of those powerful smells that just doesn't care about that. The nice lobby outside the elevator where people wait to meet the dean. Hello, sorry about the smell. The meeting room with the open door. Sorry about the noise. Can I get an update on that elevator? People walking down the hall in their office suit. Wow, they sure do seem a bit nervous seeing a guy in a lab coat driving around containers with the biohazard symbol on them. Should I tell them it's harmless unless you're severely immune compromised? Nah. Oh, and my cart only has room for 3 of those containers, plus the new ones I leave to replace the full ones. Biohazard day is about 2 to 4 trips per floor. After the second of such biohazard day, we got a message stating the elevator will be fixed over the weekend. Great story, but really you should have warned people who are immunocompromised. You're putting them in danger. I work in the biology department at a university, and the building that houses my and the chemistry departments hasn't had an elevator for about 2 years. In addition, we've had to move classrooms because of student health issues, and the need for an elevator. I hope you enjoyed those stories. Subscribe, hit the like button, and have a good day.